In today's tutorial, we are going to paint some Easter things, like we're gonna paint some Easter eggs, a baby chick, a bunny, tulips. We're gonna be working in a loose style of watercolor painting, and this is all about just having fun, and it's springtime. I can definitely feel springtime here in San Diego, and it's just fun to paint some stuff that's springy. So what we're gonna start off with first are our eggs. And what you're gonna wanna do is just grab a pencil and very lightly draw some egg shapes. Now we're just gonna paint these things all over this piece. We're not making a piece of artwork that you hang up or anything like that, but if you wanted to paint these items separately on different sheets of paper, you can totally do so. So we're just making some eggs. Another cool thing you could do with these pieces is if you have the software programs, you can digitize them, and then you can put them on cards. You could do gift tags with them. You can make wrapping paper. There are so many possibilities once you digitize your artwork. So I have these 3 little egg shapes. I'm not sure if you can see it really well, but you want to make sure to do them really light. I think everybody knows what an egg shape looks like, so just draw those. And then we are going to grab, I have my size 6 brush for watercolor today, and we're going to mix up some really bright springy colors. So I have a lot going on in my watercolor palette, but this is Opera Rose right here, and I have some lemon yellow deep and yellow ochre under here. Just kind of mixing it up. I do want kind of a bright pink tone. And for our other ones, I just have images in front of me in Google of Easter eggs. So we have our pink. Let's do a yellow. We can just mix it up in the side right here, or wherever your well is for yellow. There's just something really relaxing about mixing watercolor paint. And watercolor is the best because when I used to do acrylic painting, I would put all my paints in a palette, and if I didn't use them, I couldn't reuse them because you can't wake them up again with water. They dry, they're like hard plastic when they dry. So sad. So here we have yellow, and then let's make like a light blue one. So it's kind of crazy over here in my blue section, but I have this lighter blue over here I can mix in. The more water you add, the lighter it'll be. So this is a little dark right now, so I'm just gonna rinse off my brush when I go to use it. So let's start with our pink. And I think it would be really cool to do kind of stripes on here. So grab some of your pink with your size 6 brush and just come along here. I'm gonna outline like a band. And then I'm gonna rinse off my brush, grab some water, but not too much, and come back in and just lightly push it around. I'm pushing around the pigment and the water. I'm gonna do the same thing on the bottom because I wanna create a band here and here. Outline. Rinse my brush. Make sure I'm not having too much water on there. And go like that. I have something on my brush. I don't know what that is. Okay. And then we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the top. And maybe I wanna poke in a little color. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of the pink and a little yellow and just make sure I don't have too much on my brush. Kind of poke it in. Make it look interesting. And if you want, you can grab a smaller brush. So this is a size 0. And I'm just making a tiny line on the outside just to kind of bring it all together. So that's my first little egg. For the blue egg, I would like to do some circles on it. So I'm going to make some, or dots. So I'm just drawing circles because since we don't have white, we want to use the paper. So we're gonna paint around the paper. And you want to make a circle kind of coming off the edge to show that this is circular. Otherwise, it's gonna look really flat. So make like a half circle so it looks like the rest of the circle is on the other side. And then I suggest you could use your size 6 brush if you want, but using a brush that's a little smaller, like a size 4, would probably work better. And I'm coming in here with my pigment, and I'm just outlining around those circles. I just started my garden. Well, I started it this month, so we're in March. And things are starting to sprout now, and it's so cool. If you guys garden, share with me in the comments what kind of things you like to grow. I'm growing radishes, sunflowers, sweet peas. So I'm just outlining around these circles, and the paint is pretty wet because there's a significant amount of water. So I'm not worried that it's going to dry and create just this dry line around it. I have some time to just outline all of these before I come back with more water and fill them in. I'm also growing hollyhocks. I'm growing them because they are not poisonous to animals, and our dog loves to eat everything. Okay, now I'm coming back with just water on my brush, and I'm just touching those edges, and now they're just gonna bleed, and you're gonna let the water do the work. It's pretty cool. See? And I might wanna just make a small line right here on the edge, kind of enclose it, and then maybe come in with a little darker pigment just to make it look interesting. The bottom would be a good place to do that because technically you would get more shade and shadows towards the bottom. But this is also a loose style, so if you feel like adding in some dark up here, you can do that too. That was a little heavier than I wanted. So what I'm doing is rinsing off my brush, drying off my brush, and then just coming in here to pick up some of that pigment. Kind of move it around. You don't want to add too much water because then you're going to get those water spots that we don't like. All right, and for our last one, let's see here. Let's do a yellow. We're going to paint it all yellow, but then we're going to come back once it dries and paint some little blue flowers on it. So go to that pure yellow and just outline your egg. You want your paint to be a good consistency. It's not too watery, but it's also not super, super thick that it's gonna dry. So you want that in between. Because what you want is, this is all wet right now, and when I rinse off my brush and come back with just water, it's just gonna bleed in. Sometimes it needs a little help and you gotta push it around. And I might add just a touch of orange golden color. We're gonna let that dry and we'll come back to it. All right, the next thing we're gonna paint is a little loose baby chick. For the baby chick, there's a couple shapes going on. It's pretty much this oval shape for its body, and then a circle for the head. We got a triangle for the beak, and then the little feet. So first I'm gonna start off with the head, just a circle. And again, we're painting in a loose style, so this does not have to be perfect, but you do want to get the general shape. And then it has this kind of oval shape that's turned a little bit, coming down. If you ever have trouble drawing, break things down into shapes. It's the easiest way to kind of figure that out. And I'm drawing really light because remember, we like to do light with watercolor, otherwise it gets difficult to, or it shows up through your paint, and we don't want that. So we have this little baby chick, and then it's gonna have this little beak coming out here. And then this little eye, and the eye's pretty dark. It's kind of rounded almond shape. We'll make him fluffy when we start painting. And then this little teeny wing right here. There we go. And then just a little feet coming out. My brother and sister. So for the feet, just almost like a little branch coming out. We don't have to worry too much about that. My brother and sister went to pick up chicks yesterday. They live kind of on farmland, so they're gonna have some eggs and they need some chickens, but they're picking up little baby ones. So I'm just erasing because I wanna make sure it's really, really light. And then we're gonna come in here with yellow. So pretty bright yellow for this little chickadee. And I'm just painting, okay, so I had green in my yellow and that's not what we want. So I'm gonna add in a little orange just to get rid of that green. And I'm just painting. Like, I'm not worrying about outlining, you're just painting within that little chickadee. Everything's yellow for the most part. We'll go around the eye, even though since the eye is black, we don't have to worry about going over it. You could paint the yellow there. So painting. And what I am going to do is come in and do a little bit of maybe a shadow here and under here. So I'm darkening my yellow with yellow ochre and just a tiny, tiny bit of an orange. And just a hint of black. And then I'm just kind of tapping in this color. It looks weird right now, but don't worry. So I'm gonna tap it in here and then under here. Then I'm rinsing off my brush. I am taking off some of the water on a paper towel and just coming back in and tapping around. So I'm lightening it, kind of feathering it in. I don't have a lot of water on my brush right now. It's almost a dry brush because there's enough water on here. But I just wanted to move the pigment around. And maybe there's a little bit up here. It kind of looks creepy right now, but it won't look creepy when you're done. Then I'm going to grab an orange for the beak and a smaller brush and just come in here. It's okay if it bleeds a little bit. Make a little beak, and then the feet. Just painting these guys. I'm just checking. We don't want to put the eye in yet or it's going to be an explosion. But we could come in with a little bit of a kind of brownish color and just maybe put a couple lines so it looks like the little fluff on the little chickadee. Really light lines. Do you guys make noises when you paint? I do. I try not to do it in these videos, but I really do it normally. All right, and then we're going to, actually we can go in for the eye. So I have some black, and I am gonna leave a little tiny circle of white. So paint a little circle before you start painting all the black. Sometimes if the eyes are just 100% black, they can look a little creepy, and we don't want that. So you want to put a little white dot in there. Sometimes a little like eyelash. And then a little dot on the nose. And there's our little chickadee. I feel like it needs to be fluffier. Maybe some color in here, because this is a little. So I'm just adding a little bit more color in the face, because it got to be really plain. There we go. Liven it up a little bit. And as you can see, the pencil line is too dark because we're seeing a lot of that through. So just for your own, make sure you do the pencil line really light. We're gonna come back to this Easter egg, and I'm gonna grab some blue. And we're going to make just little flowers. So in the middle, this is a really simple flower, a circle, and then just 5 petals on the outside. And we're gonna do that all over, making a little pattern. I remember decorating eggs when I was little, and you used to have to get the egg out with like a tiny pinhole. You would poke into the egg and then you would paint them. But it was so gross. And then I remember we used to have hard-boiled eggs and just leave them out and paint them. And one time my brother and sister and I, we put one of those hard-boiled eggs into my sister's dollhouse refrigerator and left it in there for probably 2 months, and my parents could not find out what the horrible smell in our house was, and we totally forgot that we had done that. And it was so, my parents were mad when they found out, but it was really funny. So disgusting. So I'm just painting these little flowers. And maybe I'm gonna paint half of one down here, because since it's a pattern and we assume it goes all the way around the egg, we wanna show that, just like we did the circles up here. Same thing over here. And you'll notice as you start to run out of paint on your brush, it'll get lighter, and I like that. I don't want it to all be, you know, one opacity of the color. All right, I like that. I might put a couple little just dots. I'm a big fan of filling things up with dots. Very cool. I like that one a lot. All right, now we're gonna draw a little bunny, and then we're gonna paint it. So for our bunny, again, we're gonna break it down into shapes. We have a nice little circle or oval shaped head with these kind of triangular ears coming back. And then just this, another oval. It's actually closer like this. The cute little nose. Bunnies are so cute. And then this eye. Plump. It always looks creepy a little bit, but I think they normally turn out pretty good. All right, and we have the little, or big rabbit feet. These little guys. And a fluffy little tail. I think we're a little unproportioned here. Maybe make the head a little bigger and the ears a little bigger. Okay, so we're gonna paint this whole entire bunny a brownish, kind of a brownish tan color. I love those little tan bunnies that look like the Velveteen Rabbit. They're so cute. So again, I did the pencil line a little bit darker so you guys could see it, but this is going to show through. So for your own painting, don't make it so dark. And I'm just coming in here with lots of water in the pigment and just filling it in. This bunny is kind of fat. That's okay. They're cuter when they're fat. We have a corgi and she reminds me of a little bunny so much. So we got the big ears, and the front ear is going to be bigger because it's closer. The one in the back is going to be smaller because it's further away. I went a little bit over what I painted to show that. And then just come in here with a slightly darker shade, and we're gonna add in some shadows. I'm gonna use a size 4 brush for that. So there would be a shadow under the head, and then one under the little leg, kind of the hip bone comes in, and then probably under here, because this is closer to the ground. Can do something around the tail. And it's blending pretty good, so I'm not too worried about getting it blended in. And then this ear would probably be, or it would be darker slightly because it's behind this ear. And we are actually gonna let it dry just a little bit before we come in for some detail, although I am gonna add some pink right here to the ear. So grab a pink. Opera Rose pink is pretty bright, so I'm gonna mellow it out with just a touch of blue. And I'm gonna just come in here. That looks like blood, but just blend it in. And there we go. All right. We're gonna let that dry before we go in for details, but I do wanna do a carrot, because to me, carrots and spring go hand in hand. So I'm making that long carrot shape, and then I'm gonna make these kind of little carrot tops. You know how carrot tops are, they have those really small leaves. And I'm mixing up an orangey color. You want something pretty bright. I kind of have something pretty good right here already. I'm gonna add a little more lemon yellow deep. A little more yellow, okay? And I have a significant amount of paint on my brush, but it's not dripping off. You never want the paint dripping off your brush. I have a corgi hair that I have to get off of my brush. Okay, I'm just gonna come in here and outline this carrot. So my paint is wet, but it's not so wet that it's bleeding all over the place, but it's not so dry that I can't come back in here with water. So I'm coming back in here with just a brush with water and touching the edges. And I'm making that paint move around. Again, I definitely did my pencil line too thick, but I wanted you guys to be able to see it. So make sure you do that pencil line light. And I'm just gonna come in here and poke in some more color. And then I'm gonna go for green. So I'm using sap green and some yellow. Or honestly, I don't know what I'm using in this palette because I mix all my colors up. But, I don't think it really matters. I mean, you guys don't have to follow exactly what I'm using for colors. Use your eye. That is going to be the best thing You have to get used to mixing colors and finding the right colors. That's another part of art that people don't think about a lot, especially with watercolor artwork, because sometimes you need to match a color and nobody's gonna tell you exactly how to match it. You just have to keep adding until you get there. Okay, I have this bright green and I'm gonna switch to my size 4 brush. And I'm okay if this bleeds in, so I'm gonna touch. I actually really like it when it bleeds in. I think it looks really cool. And just make these little leaves coming out. And then I'm just going to pull around. So I'm pointing, pulling, and as you can see, I'm not following my sketch. I do that a lot. And I'm coming back in here with different shades. So maybe I come in with a little darker shade and I'm just pointing and pulling. And some of them I'm pointing, pulling, and then circling back around. Always have variation in color. Even if you're using the same color, make it lighter, make it darker, because that's gonna make it more interesting to look at your piece. Now we are gonna come in here and add details, but it's a little too wet right now. So we're gonna go back to our bunny rabbit, and I'm going to get a brownish color that's darker than this base color, because I wanna poke in the little muzzle, I guess you would call. What do you call that on a bunny? I'm not exactly sure. I'm gonna grab black for the nose. I have a size 4 brush, but you can grab even smaller if you want to. I'm just poking in the little nose. And then the eye, same thing, we're gonna leave a circle that's light so that our bunny looks sweet and not psychotic. And maybe a little like smile. And come back up for these ears, because we need to darken that back one again, because it's not really showing up as that much darker. And I'm gonna add more shadow, that same dark color. Shadows are our friends. I'm gonna mix this because it looks a little too much. And then just blend it in. Remember, I'm washing off my brush and then I'm drying it off slightly. And I'm using like a toothbrush, like circling motion. And just adding more depth. Like I said, shadows are your friend because they're gonna show texture, it's gonna show like where the light's coming from. It's the best way to kind of give more definition to your painting. You can put a little shadow back here. All right. I must say, that's one cute little bunny. Add in a little shadow here. Okay, now this is not completely dry, but it's dry enough for us, and we're going to grab a hue of orange that is slightly darker than what we have there. Now you want it to be darker because you want it to show up, so make sure it's dark enough. And then, you know how carrots have those lines? We're just lightly putting in those lines. And it's dry enough so it's not going to bleed everywhere. And you know what? I feel like doing one more carrot. Let's do a purple carrot. They're so pretty. So grab a nice purple color. And we're doing the same thing. So I have the tip of my brush, I'm starting at this end. I'm gonna drive up, then I'm coming out, around. I didn't draw this one out. So this is the shape that I'm using. And coming back in here with just water and filling it in. And I want this to be, it doesn't have to be realistic, so I'm adding a little more bright purple into it. Because I like it. And then again, we need to do these leaves, and it's totally fine if they touch while they're wet. It makes a really cool bleed. So tip of my brush, I don't have a ridiculous amount of paint on my brush. And I'm just touching it. And again, I'm just pointing and pulling out. You could do two motions. So oops. Well, oh well. You can point and pull. Oh, I didn't have any paint. You can point and pull around, and you can also just kind of lay your brush down. And then make sure to bring in different variations of green, so it's interesting to look at. Okay, I'm slightly obsessed with this little bunny. It looks so happy. Oh, you know what the bunny needs? Little teeny, so get your black, and they have, where their whiskers come out, they have the tiny, tiny little dots. So just make those little teeny dots. Hopefully I'm not ruining it right now. If you like it without the dots, feel free to leave it. And then I'm also gonna put an eyelash over here, because technically its other eye would be over here and you would see the eyelash. All right, those are our spring-inspired watercolor pieces. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you follow me on Instagram, please post what you create if you did this tutorial. You can follow me at lavenderandc.com, or just tag me. You don't even have to follow me, but I would absolutely love to see what you guys do. It encourages me to keep making these videos, and it shows me that you enjoy them. So thanks for watching. I hope if you celebrate Easter, I hope you have an awesome Easter. I hope you have an awesome spring and a wonderful day.